Hello everybody and welcome to this session. Today we are going to be looking at introduction to spreadsheet, and we'll be using Microsoft Excel in our course. So to access Microsoft Excel, I'll just go to Start, and in my Windows 10 Pro it is added as one of the applications in the Start menu. So these are applications that I've installed, so I'll just go direct to Excel, where I look for where it is, and click on it, and there we go. Microsoft Excel is loading now. So Microsoft Excel 2019 is loading, and as you can see, I've been given two options to either start by clicking on a template, and I can access more templates from here if I wish, but then I can also access it from but for this session I would want to use the blank workbook, so I'll just click on the blank workbook once, and wow, I have a blank workbook. This is my worksheet area, but so for now I want us to look at the workbook window, so that before we do anything else we can familiarize ourselves with the workbook window. So let's begin from the top left corner. In the top left corner we have these menu items right here, a collection of menu items. So these are menu items that you will be using like most frequently. This set of menu items that are here at the top left corner, this control here is called the quick access toolbar. So it contains the menu items that you most frequently use. Now at the middle we have all this region here, this one, which in this case is this is grid. This area here, this is the title bar. So this title bar indicates the title of the application that I'm using, which in this case is Excel, and the title of the document I'm working on. So if I were to save this document right now, this name would change from book 1 to something else. So assuming I save it, I go to save as, maybe let me save it on the desktop, and give it a name like introduction to spreadsheet. So if that's what spreadsheet, you can see it has changed from book 1, which is the default name given to the file when you open a workbook. It is now introduction to spreadsheets dash Excel. So it shows the name of the workbook you're working on and the name of the application. So that is the title bar, the title of the workbook that I am currently working on. Now on the far right corner, top right corner, I have these three sets of controls here. I have window control buttons, where I can minimize, I can restore or maximize. So if I restore, I have that kind of size, then I can maximize. It occupies the whole laptop window. Or I can close. If I want to exit the application, I'll just click on this X here, that close, and then I will have closed the whole application. After that, we can come down to this region right here, from the left all the way to the right, all this region here. This is where we call the ribbon. So the ribbon has the menus, and it has the command groups, and the command groups have the command buttons in them. So these are the menus: file, home. So every time I click on one menu, like home, the relevant ribbon is displayed here. I click on insert, the relevant ribbon is displayed there. Click on formulas, and the same thing happens. So these command buttons are grouped. We have related command buttons grouped together into what we call a command group. So like here, you come to this place, you have a command group called clipboard. So clipboard has related commands that have been put together, like cut, we have paste here, we have copy, we have format painter. So that is a command group, and we have specific command buttons put together. Come to this command group called font, and you have everything that has to do with a font put together there, and this continues up to editing. So this is the ribbon, these are menus, these are command groups, and then we have the command buttons within the command groups. So that is the ribbon. Just below the ribbon, on the left side, we have this small text box here. This small text box is called the name box. So this name box shows the name of the active cell or the active range of cells. I'm talking about an active cell or an active range of cells. So we'll look at how to name a range of cells, and the name will appear here. But for now, let's look at the current active cell is cell A1. So the name, or in this case just the address, because you have not given it a specific name, we just have the cell address A1 here appearing there. If I selected another cell, for example this cell which is N16, then you can see the N16, you can see the name has changed, the name box to N16. So whichever will activate D13 like that. So that is the name box. That's where the name of the active cell or range of cells that have been named together will appear. Move to the right and we have a formula bar. Now this whole large text box here, we call it a formula bar. Of course, it is usually designated by this icon here for inserting functions. So now this formula bar is just a text box where the entry we make into any cell, whether we're just typing some numeric values or some text, or we want to insert a function, it will appear in the formula bar. For example, once I'm here, I can type like hey. When I type hey, the word that I've typed into this cell appears in the formula bar. If you want to write a formula, for example, if for example I had a value here 12, I have a value here 13, I want to type a formula to add those two values, I can just have here, and the editing, as you will notice, is done from the formula bar. So I will say then I want to add the value at D2, so I will be adding, I'm trying to add the value at D2 plus the value at E2, and that is it. So if I add those two values, I get 12. But now how did I do it? I was able to enter the formula at the formula bar. So that basically is what the formula bar does. Now you can see that all the working, if I want to add a value, I want to activate a cell, I've been doing it all here on this space with rectangles all over. Now that space, the white space with rectangles all over, is called the worksheet. So the worksheet is the area where we will be doing all our workings. Any data that we want to type, or we want to manage, we want to work on, is going to be done here on this white area. So that white area is called the worksheet. On the far left here, we have these numberings 1, 2, 3, 4, and this particular window can only display up to 24, but the numbers continue further to very many numbers. That's for another lesson. But now these numbers on the far left here, these numbers here, the numbering is 1, 2, 3 up to 22, as we can see from this window, are called the row headers. These are the row headers. So definitely by now you should be aware that worksheet is like a table of values that consist of rows and columns. So the rows are labeled and numbered numerically 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order, and then on the top here across the screen we have letters A, B, C, D, like up to you what we can see from our current window. These are column headers. So row headers down there, then column headers up there. So rows and columns, rows and columns. So any given cell is in terms of a value of a column and that of a row. Column header, row header, column header, row header. So you can see if I select this cell here, the column header is D, the row header is 9. So the cell address becomes D9. I click here, the column header is I and the row header is 5. So the column the cell address becomes I5, and that's how it works. They are labeled in terms of column header and row header. Now something more, we come to the right hand here, we see this bar here, this bar that I can move up and down, and of course there is an arrow there that we can also use to move it up and down. Now this is what we call the vertical scroll bar. Vertical scroll bar, it helps you to move the screen up and down. So if I typed so much data in my worksheet area here up to a point where I cannot see all of them on the screen at once, then if I want to see that which is hidden down there, I would have to scroll downwards like that, and then I'm able to see what is now hidden down there. So this one helps me to scroll, move up and down, move the screen up and down. Down here we have an horizontal version of the scroll bar. This is called the horizontal scroll bar. It helps me to move this window left and right like that. Now down here we have what we call the worksheet tabs. The worksheet tabs. All the versions of Excel, by default, if you opened a workbook, a new workbook, you'd have 3 worksheets by default. But in this version 2019 we only have 1 worksheet. But then if I were to have several worksheets in one workbook, then I can add another one. And if I do add another one, you see how they are listed down here: sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Of course I can give them different names, but that is for another day. Looking at this, you can see sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So this one down here is what we call the worksheet tabs. So you click on one of them to activate a particular worksheet. So this one activates the first worksheet that I've been working on, this one activates a different worksheet, and this one activates the third worksheet. So these are worksheet tabs. Down here you see we have this part just below the worksheet tabs. It runs across all the way up to where we have this control here. So this is called the status bar. It indicates the status of the worksheet. Right now the status is ready, so it means it is ready to accept any command. I can type, I can edit. So if for example I came here and activated that cell, and for example I want to type, maybe I can activate it, and you can see now the cell here has a blinking cursor showing that it is ready for me to make an entry. And with that you can see that the status has changed into enter. So I am in enter mode. I can enter some value there. I can enter text, I can enter number, I can enter formula, whatever I want to enter there. It is ready for me. So it has changed from the ready status to the enter status. Now further right, I have this small scroll bar with the negative on the left and positive on the right. This one here is called the zoom bar, so I can zoom either out like that, so that I make the window appear smaller, or I can zoom out and make cells, I can zoom in and make the cells appear bigger. So you can see I've zoomed up to 400%, and I can zoom out up to 10%, zoom in up to 400%, and at 100% that's where I am. So you can zoom in and out. When you zoom in, you make your window look bigger. When you're zooming in, when you zoom out, make the contents of the window look smaller. So zoom in, make them look bigger, zoom out, look smaller. You can do that. Then of course we have the view modes here. So I can view in normal mode, I can have a view in print mode, a page layout mode, and I can view in page break preview. So these ones are the view modes. So basically that sums up the worksheet window. So you can know where to get what you want when you want to use it. So that is a worksheet window, and it's very simple. It's such a simple stuff navigating through. So let's go on to navigating the Excel screen. To navigate the Excel screen, we can use either the mouse, or we can use the keyboard. So for the mouse, it is simple. I just move the cursor and click whichever cell I want to activate, whichever cell I want to move to, and it is good. Now with the keyboard, sometimes you might not have the mouse and you want to use the keyboard. Like now I'm using the laptop. If the touchpad went haywire on me, then I would want to use the keyboard. So the keyboard I have the arrow keys. The right arrow will move me one cell to the right, then the left arrow one cell to the left. I can use the down arrow one cell downwards, the up arrow one cell upwards. I can use page up. So if I use page up, it will take me to the previous screen, but in my case I only have one screen, so there's no previous screen. So I can hear my laptop telling me that it has reached the end. Page down will take me to the next screen. So the next screen, my first screen, let's see, my first screen was showing up to row number 22. So I go to page down to the next screen. It starts from page 23, row number 23 here, all the way to row number 44. You go page down to the next one from 45 all the way to 66. So back to the next, the previous screen, page up, and I'm in my first screen again. Now home will take me to the beginning of the current screen. So if I was here, for example, then I press home, it takes me to the beginning of the current screen. See, so home, beginning of the current screen. Then I can press end, and end is supposed to take me to the end of the current screen, end of the current screen. So that is end, home, end. So basically that is how you can navigate your worksheet window. Now, so you know the controls, you know where to find the menu items and how to navigate through the window. So let us see how to create a workbook. So if I want to create a workbook, I can do it in two ways. I can either use the blank workbooks, or I can use a template. Create using a blank workbook or use a template. In this case, I want to create using a blank workbook. So right now I am in an open workbook. So if I want to create a new workbook, I'll just come to File, I go to New. The New gives me options, either to use a blank or to use templates. But then I want to use the blank workbook. So I've gone to File, then New, then I will click on the blank workbook. So there is this thumbnail here for the blank workbook, and of course there are these other thumbnails here for templates. But let me check the blank workbook. So boom, I have created a new workbook, and please notice that I have the default name for this book here called Book 2, and the app is Excel. So I've created a blank workbook. So maybe let me save it. So I'll save it again. Let me just save it on the desktop. I'll just call it let me call it blank, because I created it from a blank workbook like that. And of course you choose the type here as Excel workbook, so that's what it is. And I'll just save it like that, and notice it has changed from book 2 to blank the name that I just gave it. What if I wanted to create it using the existing templates? So I'll still just go to File, then say New, and assuming I wanted to create something on a sales report, so I'll look for the templates that correspond to what I want to create, and I want to create a sales report for my business. I'll just click on sales report, and here I am. I have created. So this has given me a template. It is a pre-formatted Excel format that has some details. So we have some details here about the sales of a given company, which in this case has these products here, the customer, and the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Now I can decide to change these default values that are here to suit my current needs. So what I'll have to do is just to come here and edit them. For example, if I wanted to change the name of or whatever I sold here, I can change this one here to mobile phones. So assuming I was selling mobile phones like that. So mobile phones, I sold it to I sold it to not Anton, I sold it to Eric or Eddie. So you can change these default values that are there to your own values, but then you can see it has already given you a format of how you will create your own, so you don't have to come up with your own format. So it is making your work kind of easier, but again, sometimes you would prefer to build your own from scratch, and that's where you go the blank way. So this one is a template, and you can see it even comes with a default name, sales report 1. So if I wanted to give it a different name, I would still just come here and say save as. If I wanted to give it a different name, and I'll just say sales report. Let me just call it sales report, and yeah, saved it, and it has that new name. So now that I am here, assuming I wanted to access the data that, or the workbook that I had created earlier on, so I can come here, and there are two ways. I can come to file, I can go to open and look for it where I had saved it. And where did I save it? I saved it the desktop. So if I wanted to, for example, access blank, I'll just come and select blank and say open. So how did I do that? I went to file, open, I browse to find the location. So if I had saved it in documents or in downloads or in local disk D, I would just select that and look for it there. But mine was saved on desktop, so I just click on desktop, and then the files are listed here, and I just click on the file that I want and say open, and blank is opened. So that is one way. The other way, depending on how recently I worked on it, I can just come to file here, then I just go to the recent. See, I have recent files, and I want to open the recent, and among the recents that I have, we have blank, we have sales report, we have introduction, so spreadsheets, F2S and TT. But then the one that I'm interested in for now is blank, or say introduction to spreadsheets. So I can just come and click on it, and there I go. I have my introduction to spreadsheets workbook opened. So that is how you open, you access, you retrieve a document that you had created earlier on and you want to use it again. Now, up to this point, I believe we are able to create a worksheet and save the workbook, and we are able to retrieve it from wherever we stored it. So I want us to very quickly look at what we call cell referencing. So cell referencing, that's what I want us to look at. Cell referencing. So cell referencing are of two types. And we can have what we called relative cell referencing. So we can have referencing. So we can have what we call relative cell referencing, or we can have what we call absolute cell referencing. Or we can combine the absolute cell referencing and relative cell referencing and call it mixed cell referencing. So these are the three ways that we can do cell referencing. And when we talk about relative cell referencing, talk about relative cell referencing. Then here we are talking about a scenario where if we insert a formula in a given cell, then when that formula is copied to a different cell, the formula will automatically adjust to fit the new address. For example, if I had something like that, and I had a formula here, so let me have some data here too. So I have some data here like that, and then I have a formula here to sum up the value in E4. So I have E4 plus the value in F4 like that. So that is the formula that I have there. If I do this one now is relative cell referencing. If I copied this formula like that, then that formula will now look at the formula. Let me look at the formula that I entered, equals to E4 plus F4. But when I copy it down here, it automatically changes to equals to E5 plus F5, and it automatically changes to E6 plus F6. That is relative cell referencing. And relative cell referencing is done by directly stating the cell addresses, the default cell addresses in a worksheet. So the cell addresses that we have here, this one is cell address E4, as we can see from here. and this one is F4. So we use them in our formula directly as they are there, giving us equals to E4 plus F4, and that is called relative cell referencing. Relative cell referencing. Now, so what about absolute cell referencing? Absolute. So for absolute cell referencing, that automatic change of the address to suit the new location, or the formula to change the new location, does not happen. The original address as was given will remain the same even if you try to copy it to a different cell. So then let's try using absolute cell referencing. So in absolute cell referencing, the difference here, instead of using the cell addresses as default, you will introduce the $sign before the particular part of the address that you want to be absolutely referenced. So I will come, for example, if I want to absolutely reference this particular cell E4, then I'll have to introduce the $sign before E and before 4, like that. So if that is my formula, then assuming I try to copy it down here, let's see what I have. See, I have no value here, but now the sum here is 12. How did we get to that? Because the first part of the formula, this cell here, I decided to absolutely reference it. So you can see that even after copying it, the first cell still remains E4 in all my final answers. So you see here I still have E4 and F6. So what happens here is the value in E4, which is 12, is transferred here. It is the same value, not transferred really, it is the same value that is going to be referred to when this formula is being copied down here. So the value that is here is taken and added to 34, gives me 46. The value that is here is taken, added to no value here, giving me 12. The value that is here is taken and added to 89 here, giving me 101. That is called absolute cell referencing. So that is absolute cell referencing. So if I wanted to absolutely reference the two of them, the two cells, so I would just say that and that, and I have absolutely referenced them. So now I've absolutely referenced this cell here and this cell here. So what I need to have, if I copied it there, I need to have therefore the same value of 101 everywhere. So 101 everywhere, you can see that. So it takes the value here, adds to the value there. In all the cases, even if you come here, the formula remains the same. So thank you everybody, and we'll stop there for today.